Hey guys, welcome back to another tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you how to render two camera shots in one scene. It's actually a lot simpler than you guys might think, so let's go ahead and hop into it. So I'm in a completely new file here, and I'm just going to make a couple of objects. I'm going to make a cylinder, move it over here, and then I'm going to have my cube right here. So as you guys can see, my camera right now is kind of facing my cube. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of zoom in on my cube here, just like that. That's perfect. And I'm going to move my cylinder over there. Now, just for the purposes of this demonstration, we're going to be using this very simple shot. We're going to be using Eevee to render this out, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do this. So first of all, I'm going to go ahead and save this file. Now up here, you're going to notice this little thing that says scene on the top right. All right, and there's a little drop down that just says scene. We're actually just going to duplicate this entire scene. So right now, I'm going to click on this little button, and then I'm going to say full copy. And as you can see, we have the exact same scene. However, in this scene, I'm going to move my camera over here, and I am going to rotate it a little bit so it's just more focused on my cylinder. So now if we switch back and forth between these two scenes, you'll notice it's the exact same scene, but our cameras are in different positions. I'm also going to name our second scene, Scene 2, and then I'm going to go back to the first scene and name it Scene 1. So now when we switch back and forth, our camera switches. Now over in Scene 2, I'm going to head over to the Compositing tab, click on Use Nodes, and you're going to get these two nodes right here. Now this first node is really the most important one right here. This is our render layer, so this is actually going to target one specific scene or another. Now I'm actually going to click on this, Shift D, duplicate it, and now you can see we have two of them. And you'll see there's a drop down below each one. Right here we have Scene 2, and right here we're going to have Scene 1. So I'm going to go ahead and click the drop down, select Scene 1, and now these both are going to target the same scene with different camera angles. Now how do we actually render them at the same time, and where do we send these files? To send these files, we're going to need to add an output node. So File Output is going to be the node you're going to search for, and we're going to put that right here, and we're going to need two of these. So I'm going to duplicate these right here, and we're going to plug our image into the top one for our Scene 2, and this image into the bottom one for Scene 1. And now we have to decide where we want to output these images. So I'm going to go ahead and locate a folder, and I'm going to call this S1 for Scene 1 and go into that folder. Now our Scene 1, we're going to plug that right in here, and then for the other one, we're going to plug it in right here. Sorry if that got confusing. I accidentally plugged them in the wrong way, but I'm going to go ahead and now make a separate folder, S2, and plug that in right there. So now when we render this, it's going to render both camera angles from the same scene into two separate outputs. This is really basically the magic here. So I'm going to click F12, and it's going to go ahead and render our Scene 2. But it's also rendering Scene 1. And now if I open up this folder here, and I go into my YouTube tutorials, 2 shots and 1 render, you'll see we have S1 and S2. If I go into S1, there is our first shot right there. And then if I go into S2, there is our second shot right there. So as you guys can see, we just rendered out 2 separate shots from the same scene. So if you guys have an animation or the camera's moving, basically all you have to do is duplicate that entire scene, make your second camera shot, and you can now render 2 different camera shots from the same scene into 2 separate folders. That is pretty much it. That's how you do that. Again, I'm sure there's other ways to do this. This is the way that I found to be the simplest. Again, I'll show you those nodes one last time. Right here, that's all it is. 2 rendered layers, both from separate scenes. Just make sure you're outputting them to separate folders. That is the key trick right there. I know this is a little bit more of a technical tutorial. It's not too detailed, but this is the basic thing that you need. Remember, when we go back to the Layout tab, we have 2 separate scenes. The compositing is only taking place in Scene 2. So if I head over to the Compositing tab right now, we're in Scene 1. You're not going to see anything. And if you render right now, you're only going to get this image here. All the magic is happening in the compositing of Scene 2. And as you can see, we have our 2 separate camera shots showing right here. It's a little preview. So once you render, you'll be able to know which one is which. Now, if you wanted to see both of them in the composite, I don't think you could do that. As you can see, there's only one image node or image input for the compositor right there. But again, we're outputting 2 separate files into our file output. Now, if you were to render out the animation, it would render out every single frame and output them into their own folders right there, and then you could compile them into a image sequence within the Blender video editor. So guys, that is pretty much it. I hope you learned something. I know this was more of a simple tutorial, but I was trying to cover as many little details as I could so you guys can understand how this is done. So once you build your scene out, you duplicate the entire scene, add your second camera in, and you should be good to go. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you learned something. I hope this helps. I know a lot of you guys wanted this covered, so I was more than happy to cover it. And I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you in the next tutorial.